Hello guys, welcome back. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be chased off of Oculus by all of Neil Gaiman's rabid fans. They released The Wolves in the Walls, and they put 10 and up on it, and I really don't like this. You guys know I don't like seeing wolves portrayed in an evil light, and I'm thinking, well, as an adult, I understand this has to be a metaphor for something. I've never read the damn book. Please don't send me a copy. And that's the problem. Sometimes children don't understand metaphors, especially tiny ones. And people that had read the book said that they either really loved it and they thought it was charming, or they thought it was nightmare fuel and the jam looked like blood and this was just terrible and the kids would be traumatized. So take your pick. And remember, I grew up with Grimm fairy tales and everything, but this is very different than just reading words. It's in VR. And you go through having to fight and kill wolves, which was just great. And there's a wolf attack at the end. And the wolves are trying to attack and kill the family, which is great. And it all revolves around this girl named Lucy, and she had read her grandmother's diary. Obviously, the grandmother's dead. As an adult, I picked that up. The grandmother died apparently a year ago. And she writes about being in Russia that, when the wolves would get really hungry, sometimes they would come out of the woods and they would, little tiny animals would disappear because the wolves were starving because it was a hard winter. But they don't explain that. They just say, oh, the wolves came out of the woods and they ate the animals. Big, bad, evil wolves, right? And the grandmother used the, metaphoric language. She said when the wolves got close enough, it sounded like they were in the walls. So after the grandmother dies, and this is what I'm trying to piece together because nothing's ever explained, she slips into a fantasy world. She's talking to her puppet, which she thinks is alive, and she draws you the imaginary friend, which she also thinks is alive, and everything you do is actually her. But this is going to be really heartbreaking to explain to a child. I'm like, how do you explain to a child that this child needs a lot of psychological help because she's so far into this fantasy world that you take a picture, or the camera randomly takes a picture, and she shows you this magnifying glass, and she must, in her mind, think it has magical powers. If you look at the picture, you can see there's nothing there, but if you look with the magnifying glass, you see the wolf. So there's something wrong with this child, and she needs help. But then, just to confuse the shit out of you, the wolves actually do come out of the wall, and they're trying to eat the child, and they're trying to eat the child's family, and they're attacking everyone. And it ends on that. It ends on the wolf attack, and it looks like the wolves are going to kill the mother, and it looks like the wolves are going to kill the family, and they chase them out. And I've read the synopsis of the book. Apparently, the child leads the family back in, and they chase the wolves out. One, it doesn't do any good for the reputation of wolves, which concerned me. And two, they're saying 10 and up. We know there are some adults who would be on the floor crying because these wolves attack you and you have to fight them with a sword. And yeah, they're polygon wolves and stuff, but very young children and sometimes some adults can't really tell the difference between, fantasy and reality. And the wolves at the end are these nightmare scribbles with these hellfire eyes, and they're just trying to eat everybody and everything. And I was like, that's a goddamn terrible place to leave this, because a lot of parents are going to be like, oh, it's a children's storybook by Neil Gaiman, how delightful. And they're going to let 8 or 6-year-old or younger, you've seen toddlers using VR play this, and that was my concern. And I said, people can get mad, but I said, if you're going to let the children play this, at least make sure you're willing to talk about death. You're willing to talk about depression. You're willing to talk about knowing fantasy from reality. And you're willing to balance this out with actually some real facts on wolves so that the children aren't, growing up, not just because it's wolves, frightened that wolves are these monsters that are going to come out of the woods or out of the walls and eat them. Sometimes stuff strikes people in frightening ways and they don't know. And we don't have... How many... raise your hand if you can think of at least 10 positive wolf icons. You can't. So it's like, it's another one of those demonized animals. Cats, dogs, everything you can think of, like at least a couple. you know, even if they're cartoon characters or something. But other than the Cookie Crisp Wolf, and he kept stealing the cookies, you can't think of anything, can you? Maybe like a team mascot or something, but you really can't think of like the hero wolf or anything, which is what my problem was. And I actually played it twice because I thought it can't end on a cliffhanger, but it did. And I'm apologizing to Odin. I was really upset that I had to fight and kill wolves. And you do feel an attachment to this child, and you want to, as an adult, you want to protect this child and save her from the wolves, and you can't because they're all up here until they start coming out of the walls. So you're never sure, do the wolves actually come out of the walls, or is this child so far into fantasy that the family loses the home for a while? Because it's really weird. The home is in shambles. It looks like they're living in a condemned home. And yet they have VR and they're eating Chinese takeout and they're running a business, you know, like making jelly, and it doesn't make sense. And it's supposed to, like, they have VR, but when the phone rings, it sounds like it's a phone from like 1800s or something. So I really didn't like it. I was like, well, not only is it bad for wolves, but, you know, I would not let a child do this. And remember, I used to do that story hour, and we would look through the books. I and the librarian would look through the books, and we'd look through guidelines of what's appropriate for each age group. And this would definitely not be appropriate for any age group. Maybe some 10-year-olds are really mature and can handle it, but there are some adults that would have been on the floor crying, so I didn't like that. So I'm sure Neil Gaiman fans will hate me, because I know he's reached that, like, godlike status where some people are like, I love all his work. I'm like, I have issues with it. I have issues of him borrowing from cultures and just claiming it as his own, and I can do whatever I want because I'm an artist. I don't hate him, but I don't think he did a lot of good for anybody with this. This was child appropriate? I don't think so. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of people will hate me for that, but I was like, no, these are terrible parents, and that was actually my main concern out of the whole thing. The parents are terrible. If your child comes to you crying that there are wolves in the walls, are you going to say, oh, there can't be wolves in the walls, because you know what happens? When the wolves come out, it's all over. So this kid's already frightened, and they're frightening her more, and then she goes, what's all over? Everything. What the hell are they talking about? Death? They're gonna lose their home? Taxes will go up? They won't be able to buy their favorite brand of shoes? What the hell? Bad parenting. Bad parenting. So yeah, I didn't like it at all. And I feel like Odin's Becker, like, you don't have to get this fired up. I'm not worried. But I was really upset. I was really disappointed that they would release something like that, because, you know, there aren't enough peaceful apps on VR as it is, and then they release this in the children's category, and it's nightmare wolves attacking a family. I'm like, really? Seriously? I understand that's how our culture sees wolves, but seriously? You could have done better, Oculus. Thank you so much for the big disappointment. But yeah, that's my rant on that VR app. I will not show it on this channel, guys, because there's too much of a chance of younger people seeing it, not understanding that it's a metaphor either for death or for fantasy versus reality or whatever the fuck he was thinking of whenever he was on his drugs. I don't know, but it's like, why the hell would you purposely frighten children? There is a way to do things to deal with serious topics, but you have to make it clear where fantasy and reality are. You don't have to make it so vaguely subjective that it would probably take an adult to suss out that grandma died and that's why all of her stuff's in the attic. You just never see grandma. Maybe grandma's at the nursing home. You don't know. Maybe the wolves ate grandma. Who the hell knows? So if you guys like what you see, excuse the rant, but you know I love wolves. I just gave to a goddamn wolf sanctuary because of shit like this. So if you know you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. And I was so pissed off because I just got a victory. I saw it on Facebook. They had to get these. They make they're basically like a mine, and it releases a toxic gas, and they put those out in the woods at random places to kill wolves. And they are legal. I forget what the gas is, but it's designed to kill the wolves. So the wolf steps on it, triggers it, the gas goes off, and it kills the wolf. Well, it's been going off and hurting children and killing dogs, so yeah, they finally outlawed those damn things. And they said, why the hell are these things even legal? Because the one that the child got hurt on was placed right behind his house on like a little hill, and the child didn't know, and the child was like running around with his dog, and it went off, and the child got severely injured, and the dog died. So yeah, they're placing mines in the woods for wolves, and I'm like, this is fucking insane. So if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye bye.